Okay, just so you know, I am not going to accuse anyone of being a psycho when it comes to Bruce Lee and Jeet Kune. Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Rebel. Welcome to the I Love Jeet Kune broadcast number 300. Landmark, the one about the Jeet Kune psychotypes. As you're logging in, if you'd be kind enough to say where you're logging in from, hit the like button and feel free to continue doing so throughout the broadcast. If you're catching the simulcast over on the YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell as well. But of course, the best thing you can do is to share this video and spread the word about the I Love Jeet Kune broadcast. Okay, so when you start researching the theory of psychotypes, which is really just, I guess it's an apocopation of the term psychological types. So you might come across different renditions like the 10 different types of humans. And that's a thing, labeling them from alpha through to lambda type, or the 7 personality types. And that's adventurers, performers, disciplinarians, harmonizers, dreamers, hedonists, whatever. So I got interested in it because, as you guys well know, we have quite engaging characters here on the I Love Jeet Kune page, right? You know what I mean. Off the top of my head, without like looking into it psychologically, my list was the diehards, the fantasists, the omniscients, the novices, and the charlatans. But then I got a little bit more serious with it. And so I went with a more acceptable or accepted list. So here we go. The first one was traditionalists versus innovators. Now, traditionally in martial arts, traditionalists are people who strictly adhere to martial arts practices as they have been handed down, sometimes over long periods. And so the average traditional martial artist in the 1960s might have viewed Bruce Lee's innovations as heresy. On the other hand, people who were like totally digging the zeitgeist of the 60s era, they may have appreciated his open-minded approach towards innovations, adaptation, and evolution, okay? So tapping into a little bit of Alanis Morissette here. Isn't it ironic that then decades later, we find ourselves having to deal with a confusing mix of traditionalists and purists who kind of insist that the art of Jeet Kune, which is the epitome of innovation, it must be trained only in the ways in which it was practiced in the days of yore. So why do they do this? Is it a matter of hierarchy versus individualism? Is it ego and identity, or even some aspect of cultural preservation versus, I don't know, globalization or something? So someone who is infinitely more qualified to talk about these things than am I is my good friend Andy Wilson of MKG Seattle. And Andy is, let me bring him on here. I surprise guest, right? And I got to tell you guys, I appreciate Andy doing this. He does not at all like being on screen. Right? So
right. Only for you.
He's doing it as a favor to me. But one reason why I wanted to get Andy in on this is because it is from him that I learned, and I adopted the statement actually as one of mine, right? That in scholarship, one does not gravitate towards or attach yourself to the earliest writings of a deceased scholar. Instead, one should consider his latest writings as evidence of his evolution of thought and practice. Did I get that right, Andy?
That's the way I put it. Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Right? Okay. All right. So Andy recently put up what I call his opus magnum. He calls it his crazy dorky research project, right? So for those of you who haven't seen it, I got a screen grab of it here that I'll try to put up with us so that you know what to go look for. So it's almost 150 images that are all about advertisements and listings for Inasano seminars. And I think the earliest one that I saw was from 1982, if I remember correctly, right? And then all the way through the 90s and what have you. All right, so first question, Andy, why the heck did you do this?
Because I was curious, actually. So I've been kind of following the arguments for the last couple of years. And frankly, I find it kind of baffling. So, because it's not my experience, the things that are being said. So I wanted to test the theory, which was basically that there's this idea out there portrayed by some that there was a bait and switch going on with the seminars where they advertised Jeet Kune and then they get there and everybody's surprised there was Filipino martial arts or whatever. So I just started looking in the archives of Black Belt, and I don't think I found any that were listed as just a Jeet Kune seminar. Every single one of them had other arts listed. And I just started to kind of spot check it here and there, just out of curiosity. And then I'm laying in bed on my iPad. I just started screen capping everything and just going magazine by magazine. And it just kind of grew from there as a little hobby, time waster before bed.
Yeah. I noticed today, one of the more recent comments or threads or comments in the thread was the idea that it spread even to Europe. This idea that Kali is Jeet Kune or Jeet Kune is Kali or whatever. There were people saying that it spread to Europe. And my immediate thought was, okay, well, people who were saying it in the US, people who were making the claim that people were confused, also did seminars in Europe.
Right.
So to me, that's not evidence of anything. If I say something to you here in Miami, and then I come to you in Seattle and I say the same thing, that's not evidence of anything. That's just me continuing to say what I say, just in a different geographical location. So what do you think they think is the import of that observation? That people in Europe were confused also, as they say.
I think they're just trying to establish that it has traveled far and wide, this idea. And I think you and I would both say that it's not complete, we're not accusing people of making it up, that I think there generally are or were people confused, but it's not, as I kind of said, it's like, if you ever went to if you actually walked in the doors of the seminar, or you read interviews, which there's so many interviews through the 80s, 90s up until today. If you actually read something or were there, there's no way you could be confused that Kali is JKD or is Bruce Lee's JKD. Not from the Guru Dan seminars anyway. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, the thing, so it hasn't come up yet from what I've seen, but I know it's going to come up. That there was an occasion on which some people attended a Ted Wong seminar and they showed up with sticks. Right. I don't know if you've heard that. Okay. Yep. So I'm pretty sure that at some point that's going to be raised as evidence that people were confused. And again, it's like, so so you're going to point to Dan Inasano as being responsible for that? Right. I don't get that, but I'm pretty sure that that's the point that they're going to make. I clicked on every image because I was trying to find, what I didn't see? I don't see anything that said Jeet Kune concept seminar. I never saw that. No. Right? Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that never existed. So then I don't know if you've noticed this. When I did look in Black Belt magazine for Jeet Kune concepts, when I did find it, it had nothing to do with Inasano. Yeah. It was not Inasano seminars. You
Yeah,
see?
absolutely.
Right? So this
Yeah.
idea that he is the one that confused people by calling the seminars Jeet Kune Do concepts is actually inaccurate. It wasn't, he did not, right? So like you said, everything was shown as separate. I put up the 1982, even though I was there in 83, it was pretty much the same ad for CMAA, where I met,
Right.
your teacher, Rick Fay. And it said, Dan Inasano, Kali Eskrima. So
Right.
my question then was, how come a guy living in a little foreign country, right? How come I wasn't confused? How come I knew, right? And I had no empirical experience with Inasano or Bruce Lee or what have you. I was not a big fan and a big collector in 1983. So how come I knew that Dan Inasano was teaching Filipino martial arts? How could somebody who had done so much research and knew so much and had so much material, how could somebody claim to be confused?
Right. Well, I have a theory.
Okay, go.
So, I coined the term JKD vampires,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
um, it's like you have to care what Guru Dan is saying and what Guru Dan is actually, what he's teaching, what he's discovered, his insights. You have to care about that to spend the time to understand, his idea of concepts. You have to listen. You have to care. You can't just sit there and cherry pick for his memories of Bruce Lee. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that I'm not saying that's everybody, but that's part of it. It's like they're not interested in him as the teacher or the practitioner. They want his memories of what Bruce Lee actually did. And so you just kind of tend to tune it out.
Right. That reminds me of something that Rick Fay once said, right? Which is different from my approach. My approach is this. I went for Bruce and stayed for Dan.
Exactly.
Rick Fay went for Dan, right?
Mhm.
And stayed ever since. Because as you and I both know, Rick Fay is not the biggest Bruce Lee fan or what have you. So I
Yeah.
think so that's kind of what you're talking about. There are people who go there. Oh, you're Dan Inasano. You're Bruce Lee's right hand man. This is as close to Bruce Lee as I could get.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is this double stick thing?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So their brains go on fire. And then they got to go looking elsewhere. But I wanted to ask you about the phenomenon, because it seems to me to be a visceral anger towards Inasano. Do you get that vibe?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. There's somebody said on that he's the most hated person in GKD, which I find it to be, given his character and who he is as a human being, that is just bizarre to me.
Yeah.
That you could actually hate him for it, or for his opinion or the way that he teaches things.
Yeah.
But it definitely seems pathological and trying to exterminate his influence. That's what it feels like to me. It's gone beyond just like I disagree a little bit, but that's your approach or your recollection. But I prefer this other pathway to JKD or JKD history.
Yeah.
It's not. It's definitely an eradication agenda.
I mean, and I don't understand where it is. Like, do they reject what was written in 1971 in Liberate Yourself in favor of some other agenda?
That seems to be what's going on. Yeah, and I make the point all the time that I was a philosophy major, so I was really interested in the essay.
Right.
But I make that point all the time. It's not like he just wrote that essay and then changed his mind, and when he got in the movies. Like his last interview, he was repeating the same things. The last, I forget who it was, that Alex Ben Block, or was his last interview? Up until his death, he stayed true to that vision of JKD. So yeah, something odd is going on.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I just want to say to anybody who hears this is that it's kind of a quandary, because I'm not interested in carrying on a debate or a discussion which is endless. I'm not interested.
Mhm.
But if you don't say anything to counteract what is being said, then there's only one narrative that spreads.
Right.
And so I find myself in the position of having to come to Inosano's defense. But like you said, nobody ever asked us to come to his defense. He doesn't.
Right.
He doesn't absolutely need it. But we're on social media. He's not.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, but what do you make of the people who are like, oh well, I don't get into those discussions. I'm above that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
I do understand it, because I understand that sentiment, and I'm, that's one shoulder telling me one day, and the next day, going
same
back
here.
and forth.
Yeah,
Um,
same here.
but I think for some of the people that have been around for 30, 40 years, they're just tired of it, and they give up that clarity can never happen. And
Mhm.
I have a little bit of optimism that if you just communicate and nail down actual facts and keep and counteract it, that there is some hope of
Yeah,
understanding.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I mean, I get it. I get why people are uninterested or they find it a turnoff. But one of the things that I'm making a real effort to do is to actually put out actual, documented um, sources and procedures with logical conclusions based on that
hmm
information, so other people can decide.
right.
Yeah, so they get, it's one thing to say it verbally or on your podcast, or write it, but when you show them, here's this magazine from 82, here's this magazine from 74, here's one from 70, and it's
Mhm.
been consistent the whole time.
Yeah.
Hopefully some people will start to listen a little bit.
Well, that's why I said that you are infinitely more qualified than
Yeah,
I
that's
am
not
to
true.
to talk about this stuff, because you're a real historian, because you're
uh,
interested in producing the facts. There are people who have the reputation of being Jeet Kune historians who are interested in portraying again, and I hate to use the common term, but a particular narrative,
right, right,
and then
yeah,
and then stating that their opinions are fact. The last one was Dan Inosano changed the name of the art,
right,
right? And I was like, how is that? How is that? If the name of the art was changed and he's so influential, why is the art still known as Jeet Kune?
right, yeah,
Right?
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and so anyhow, all right. But listen, I know you got better things to do than to come on here and
yeah,
engage in this never-ending discussion. But I really appreciate the backup, so to speak, Andy, because you've really given me ammunition that I can use, in going forth and carrying this banner, so to speak. But let me ask you one last question.
okay,
Do you yourself use the term Jeet Kune Do concepts?
no,
I
no,
don't either. I don't.
yeah, but
I
I
don't.
don't, but I'm not, I don't talk about Jeet Kune Do in anything except for my Jeet Kune Do class. you know
Yeah.
I, it's
Yeah.
like if I'm teaching Kali or Muay Thai, I'm not talking about Jeet Kune Do concepts, or it's just
Right.
not a thing. Like I
Yeah.
said, it's like, it's just a training method. It's not my preferred way. It's just a great training method. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, Whatever the
All right.
case. Yes.
All right, my friend. Okay. Well, go do what it is that you do on Wednesdays when you're not hanging out with me. And once again, thanks very much for your contribution. And that was great work. That was really, really good work.
Yeah. Well, it's simple, and I'm not a historian, but I can sometimes be obsessed. So.
All right. Well,
All
okay,
right.
good. So I think that means we can look forward to more stuff from you.
Yeah, in writing, yes.
All right. Okay.
And
All right.
maybe one. All right.
All right.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again, man. Take care.
All right. Bye.
All right. Okay. So again, if you've not taken a look at Andy saying this is what it looks like on the I Love Jeet Kune Do page, and again, neither he nor I are interested in arguing with people about what have you. It's just that if somebody's saying that A is B, then somebody has to come up and go, no, A is A, and here's the evidence that A is A. It is as simple as that. It's not about continually arguing with anyone. All right, so that is it for today, my friends. So you know the deal. Let me know what you think in the comments below. That's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods and on Instagram at Dwight D. Woods. At paypal.me/UnifiedMA Miami. Paypal.me/UnifiedMA Miami is the Jeet Kune Do Journey Volume 1. I don't have a screen grab for it, but I did release on Gumroad. I did release the Quick Skills, the Jeet Kune Do Quick Skills series, Volume 1. I'll work that into the close-ins next week. But go to my Facebook page, the Dwight D. Woods page. I mean, I put it all over, but go there and just scroll around and you'll see the link for it. It's a downloadable video series, and this is Volume 1, Jun Fan Kickboxing. So you can pick up a copy there. I priced it at $27 because I released it on November 27th in commemoration of Bruce Lee's birthday. So I'd appreciate if you guys would check it out and let me know what you think about it. You can support me also at jkdrebel.com. Click on the Rebel Gear link, and that's where you'll see stuff like this, kitchen implements and garments, jkdrebel.com. Click on the Rebel Gear link. All right, so that is it. That was kind of a hybrid between the broadcasts and the dialogues because I'm on the road again. My good friend and training partner, Ron Goldstein, and I, actually, it's Ron, me, and Doc Garcia, who has been my, let's see, Doc was first my student, then my friend, no, my student, then my dentist, then my friend, since 1992. So us three musketeers are heading out to LA on Friday. We're going to go hang with Sifu and Asano, then go into the Valley, hang with Cass Magda for Saturday and Sunday. Then on Monday, go, I don't even know what part of California this is, but we're actually going to go and spend some time with one of my brilliant martial art friends, G. Anthony Joseph. You've seen him on here in the dialogues with me a couple of times. He's not a Jeet Kune Do guy, but his approach to fighting is something that I find really, really interesting. There is some kind of Bruce Lee involvement in the system that he trains through. I always forget the gentleman's last name, but it's Paul something, who was an Ed Parker Kempo black belt and who does have stories of spending time with Bruce Lee. So there's a Jeet Kune Do connection. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm not going to be able to produce an episode of the Jeet Kune Do dialogues on Friday. Okay. All right. So, but Wednesday next week, we'll have another issue of the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast. Today's a red day. So I thought since we were going to be talking about Sifu Dan, I'd break out this one. See, Ron Goldstein, you got nothing on me. All right. Okay. So that's it for today. Until the next time, this is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, signing off. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening. It's cold here in Miami. All right. So stay safe. Talk soon.